My most popular video and the only video I have that has broken 1 million views is titled My Regrets as a Computer Science Student. Many of y'all may have seen it already, but the only natural progression after being a computer science student is being a full-time blank. For me, it was a software engineer, so I felt it was only right to make a video. This video, My Regrets as a Software Engineer. I want to share with you the things that I wish I knew early on in my software engineering career, as well as a few things that I felt like I did right. For those of you watching this in the first few days, I'm going to be tweeting out basically a little form for y'all to leave questions, because I plan to do like an Ask Me Anything. You can ask me about anything, computer science, software engineering, life related, doesn't really matter to me. I'll answer whatever I think will benefit y'all the most. And I'm going to be making a video about that maybe next week, maybe the week after. You can look at my Twitter link in the description. It's just at ForrestPKnight on Twitter. I'm also the same on Instagram. Not that I'm asking anything over there. If you aren't watching this within the first week, that means you missed out on leaving your question under that tweet for me to answer it in the video, but that's okay, because starting in February, I plan to stream regularly at least once a week over on Twitch. And you can ask me whatever question over there. What you'll find is I'll be coding the project engagement web application over there, and you'll be able to see the behind the scenes of what it's like to be a software engineer. But don't expect it to all be coding. If I just want to hop on stream and play some video games or just chat with y'all, that's going to happen as well. And as always, you can find all my social links in the description: Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, GitHub. Follow me over there and we can stay engaged. Definitely one of my biggest regrets when I started off as a software engineer, and funny enough, that notification was because someone followed me on Twitch. But one of my biggest regrets as a software engineer is definitely I didn't want to be seen as incompetent. What I mean by that is there would be a 1 hour or a 2 hour task that I would accept, and it would take me 4 or 5, maybe even 6 hours to complete it. And the reason being is because I didn't ask for help if I hit a roadblock, or I didn't ask for clarification on the task. I just said, oh, well, this one should be easy because it's a shorter task. Let me just knock this out real quick. And the biggest problem with this is that I could have easily asked for clarification without expecting any sort of weird views on me. Like I said, I don't want to be viewed as incompetent. I want to be able to come into this company and do the work that they're hiring me to do. But they know that I don't know everything. I know that I don't know everything. And there's one time in particular that you can ask for full clarification on a particular task, and that is when you are creating the backlog in whatever meeting you have. Typically, you meet up, you create a backlog, basically everything that needs to be done. But not only then, when you create that particular sprint, whether that be 1 week, 2 week, 3 week sprint, you take whatever is at utmost priority from that backlog and you bring it into your sprint board. Well, then you go through every single task to see how long it's going to take to do that task. And while you're doing that, if I don't understand a task, what I need to do is say, hey, can we clarify this in the description of this task? So if I do it, I can have a better understanding of what needs to be done based on what y'all are thinking. Because I could misinterpret what they're thinking and do something completely off the rails, or I just completely don't understand. So why don't I just ask for clarification when we're actually either making that task or logging it into the current sprint? Also, it's okay to ask for help. If you have exhausted all possibilities, or maybe it's a simple task that you want to ask a quick question that you can say, hey, I'm about to really dive into this because I'm really at a roadblock here, but I want to ask you in case you have, if your team leader or senior developer on your team knows what roadblock that is, or knows how to solve that very easily, they can explain it to you in a minute. That minute, or if you want to count 2 minutes, because it's 1 minute for each developer, is going to be a lot less than you trying to figure out for 30 minutes, even if you do figure it out. And then obviously it's even more if you don't figure it out, because then you're going to have to ask them anyway. What I'm really trying to say here is just learn from my mistake, ask for help, ask for clarification, so you actually understand how to go about solving the problem at hand. Another big regret, I don't know if it is a regret, but it's definitely something I want to address. That is neglecting to learn in my spare time. Now, mind you, I was aware of this the whole entire time as a software engineer, my whole entire career. But I was at a bit of a crossroads, because in my spare time, not only did I have to allow my brain to cool down after overheating from coding all day. I just didn't have the capacity to code all day and come home and learn more about code. But I was making YouTube videos as well. So I don't regret not learning in my spare time because I was doing something else productive, which was making YouTube videos, which brought me here. But I do know that if I had the capacity to and I didn't have anything else going on, I would have really liked to learn more in my spare time because it would have made me a way better software engineer. But also keep in mind that it's not necessary to learn outside of your work as much as people want to say that. I mean, what other job, what other profession, career are you going to be doing your regular 8 to 9 hours at work, coming home and spending more time so then you can better improve yourself for the next time you're at work? I don't know any. I don't know any unless you are building a side business based on the regular business that you do, which as a byproduct increases your skill set in that field. But you're not expected to go home and learn more so then you're even better. You're not getting paid for that time. But again, retrospectively looking at it, I felt like if I did have the capacity to learn in my spare time, it would have made my software engineering job more enjoyable. And the reason I say that is because nothing is worse than not being able to fulfill your job. Like what I said in my first regret, it's not a good feeling spending 4 hours on something that could have taken them 1 hour, maybe even 30 minutes. So if I would have known more, if I would have learned more in my spare time, then maybe that I would have been able to accomplish in 1 hour. And not only that, but nothing is better than taking on a task and solving that problem with your code within the time allotted for that task. Just being able to sit down and complete everything and not really hit any roadblocks or errors or bugs that day. Then I have had some days like that. I felt on top of the world. Maybe looking at it now, I should have killed 2 birds with 1 stone and just built my own Java and Spring projects for my YouTube channel. So then I could have made YouTube videos while also learning more about that. Oh well. Let's move on to the next regret. And that is completing your tasks just by reading the task and saying, okay, let's code this up. Not really understanding why that task is there. And this is different than what I said at the beginning, where you need to have clarification on how to code a particular task. Because what I'm trying to say is put yourself in the shoes of the user. Understand why that user requested this particular feature to be a part of that web application. Because if you can be a part of the user, like you've used an app and said, man, I wish this app could do X, Y, and Z. It would be really cool if the devs added that to this. But as the dev, you may not see it because you may not use the app the same as the majority or as your particular client. In my defense, I did start doing this later on this project. It's just at the beginning, I would just say, okay, I need to do this task. I need to make it look like this or do like this, but I'm not really taking in mind how I think they would like it, which is exactly what I should be doing because they're the ones that have to use it every day. So what I did start doing is asking the senior developers or even meeting with the client themselves and getting a better understanding of why we are implementing this, who asked for it, what is their ultimate goal with this particular feature, so I could have a better understanding of why I'm implementing this in. And with that mindset, it just makes for not only a better process of you coding it, but a better end product for the user. Now, let me talk about a few things that I don't regret. So this is me, what I feel like I did right. And the first thing is writing everything down. And when I say writing everything down, I write everything down. All of these are filled up except for this one because this is my current journal or notebook or whatever you want to call it. But I write down every little thing, a to-do list for that day, what I actually got accomplished, and little notes and tips and basically anything that runs across my mind that I feel like I want to remember, I want to be able to call back on. I write it down. Now, I do slightly regret not writing it down in my computer, only because I can't control F a notebook, and with this I can actually this is my touchscreen computer that y'all may have seen in a previous video, the LG Gram 2-in-1. I actually have a pen that I can write down whatever notes in here, and I can control F and find any little word I'm looking for. You may have seen in my previous live stream, let me put this away. where I was rolling through this notebook trying to find all of my notes on how I set up my Arch Linux environment. And it took me kind of a long time to find it because I'm like, oh, I think it's around this time. Oh, I think it's around that time. It is dated, so I was able to kind of navigate based on the dates, but it would have been a lot easier to control F. Anyway, however you want to take notes, I recommend writing down as much as possible, to-do lists, tips and tricks, things you learn. If you need to set up an Arch Linux environment, which is slightly difficult, or maybe you have to set up any sort of environment as it is for your work, write down everything that you have installed. So if your computer decides to crash and wipes basically everything on your computer, you know exactly what to reinstall. I'm talking from experience here, which I actually have written down as one of my oddly specific regrets that I want to talk about in this video. Not backing up my Ubuntu virtual machine, because when everything crapped out, not only did I have to reinstall everything on Windows, but I had a Ubuntu virtual machine that if I had a snapshot and I uploaded it to a Google Drive or just somewhere that was a file sharing, it's basically somewhere that wasn't on my computer, I'd be able to pull that down, throw that into VirtualBox effectively, and I would have my old dev environment back instead of wasting a day or two trying to reinstall everything that I already had on my computer. Another thing I don't regret, though, is looking at fresh code that was pushed up into the dev environment. Not only did I have to do that for like a code review, for the little bit that I could add as a junior dev to a senior dev's push, but what I would do even more than that is I would look at the code, look at the task that code fulfilled, and seeing what the code does and how it fulfilled that task. It just gave me a better understanding of how they approached the problem and solved that particular problem in completing that task, and giving me a better idea of how I can do the same. And to end off this video, just another oddly specific regret that I had as a software engineer. If you use Windows, you may feel my pain here, but it's not updating Windows at the end of every single day. The reason being is because I remember one day in particular where I opened my laptop, I did not hit update and restart or update and shut down. It just decided to randomly update when it woke up that day, and it took about 3 to 4 hours. I got to work around 9. I wasn't able to work until after lunch because of this Windows update, and that was the only machine I had at my disposal. So make sure you update whatever you may have at the end of the day so it doesn't mess up your work for the next day. Those are the things that I regret as a software engineer, the few things that I think I did right as a software engineer, and a couple very oddly specific regrets that I had as a software engineer that y'all may have felt my pain on that as well. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, a thumbs up will go a long way. The more thumbs up on the video, the more engagement, meaning the more the YouTube algorithm will want to push this video to other like-minded individuals like you and me. Speaking of which, if you want to join a community of like-minded individuals, software engineers, hit the subscribe button. I make videos like this all the time. I talk about everything from computer science topics to software engineering. I have that big web app project that I'll be working on over the next month or 2 or 3 or however long I think it may take. So if you want to see kind of behind the scenes of what it's like to be a full stack software engineer, follow along. I'll be making videos along the way, and of course, streaming it all on Twitch.